have to take a drink. But sometimes we need to tell ourselves, stop bringing up old shit.
Exactly.
Because, like,
exactly.
For real, like, we are so good at it, like, with other people, we will be conscientious of, like, I'm not going to bring that up because that's in the past.
But here's the thing, too. We bring up old shit. You can go ahead and give me one. We bring it up.
Hold on. Then, since we're having one at the same time, this was really good.
We'll bring that up, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't bring it up in the right context. We never bring it up in the right context.
To like
we bring it up in this false reality that we created. Because if we go back and we were to actually replay the situation, it didn't happen the way that we may perceive that it happened.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You are tuned into the MDI 2.0 podcast with Clifton Pettyjohn and Michael Andrew Weston. Sit back, relax, turn the volume all the way up, and enjoy today's episode. How do I know when it's recorded?
You don't.
Okay.
You just guess.
Hello. Stop, I'm being serious, yo. Hello. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I always suck with these intros. Here we go. I was glad when they said unto us.
Oh, take a shot.
No, we're not on the podcast.
Yes, we are. That's part of the podcast.
No, this is
yes,
not.
Sir.
No,
dude.
Take
a shot.
Come on now,
No,
dude.
take a shot.
Now you're just being a little
No,
extra.
sir.
Now.
No,
You
sir.
are being a bit too much with these. Oh my
No,
God!
sir. Take a shot.
Like really, like.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God! And you were waiting for that too. You were sitting over there.
No, I wasn't.
He's gonna say something about the church. Will he say something about the church?
Oh, that's a good shot. Yeah. That's a Michael Weston one. Make sure you get out the shot though.
I got it out the shot. That's not in there.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Ah.
No, sir. Take that shot.
Refreshing.
No, sir. Take that shot. All right.
We can see what type of episode this is going to be already. I want to thank you for tuning in to the MDI 2.0 podcast. I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Peace.
Mommy made me mash my M&M. Mommy made me mash my M&M. Mommy made me mash my M&M. Mommy made me mash my M&M.
Now that's a Sabbath speed right there. Come on now, son.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Are we ready?
We're here.
Are we here?
We're recording.
Are you sure we're recording?
We're recording.
You hit record.
Mommy made me mash my M&M.
Wow. What's up, everybody? Listen, welcome back to the MDI 2.0 podcast. My name is Cliff.
My name is Michael Andrew Weston.
We're here today to talk about
self-trust.
Oh, man.
Self-trust.
Self-trust. Sometimes that seems like two words that don't even go together.
Really?
Well, it feels like it, Tom.
I deserve all trust. I mean, I've always trusted myself at all times for every reason.
Okay. Well, being that he's had such an experience with this subject, I'm going to leave out from in front of the camera and allow you to help us know
I'm gonna
how we get to that space.
I'm going to therapize you.
Because
I think this chair leans back. You lean back, we're going to be on the couch, and I'll therapize you.
No, I did not know that it was just such an easy thing for you. Like, how did you get to that space? Or wait a minute, you didn't even have to get there. You just
there. I'm born like that. I was born this way.
Speaks volumes. Speaks volumes. I get it. Okay. Wow.
No, but seriously, self-trust has not always been an easy thing for me, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's easy now. I think I've gotten more in a flow of self-trust. The more I've understood the identity flow, the more I've understood who I am at core, I think it's helped me to really develop a better relationship with myself. And I'll say this to lead off in my thoughts, that I was brought up in an environment that you trusted people above yourself. And when you're taught that innately at root who you are is evil, it's bad, it's no good, then it teaches you this pattern of behavior where you're constantly looking outside of you for something, for someone to tell you the answer, to give you the right path, etc. And it leaves you in a space often of confusion. And so, like for me, the more I've gotten into this identity work that I do now, it's really helped me to get clear on what it is that I think, what it is that I believe, what it is that I think I should do, and that's really helped me to navigate this thing, called trust, self-trust.
Now, I could go so many spaces from that, so many different spaces from that, but you hit the nail on the head where, you're raised to trust external voices more than you trust yourself. And a lot of people get to a space where they're not able to recover from that because they were told to trust somebody.
Yeah.
Who internally, even at a young age, internally, they felt a resistance to trust that person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They ended up trusting that person. That person took advantage of that trust, and they have yet to rebound from that.
Yeah. And that's so interesting because it just took me, you already know, it took me down a whole path of thought of experiences that I've had. And to our first episode, when we talked about acceptance versus tolerance, those environments where you are tolerated are the spaces most that you are also told to trust. But it's hard to trust who doesn't really understand who you are, doesn't receive who you are in its fullness. And so you're learning to trust people who don't trust you. And so you're starting to develop a trust in what is not trustworthy. And so it makes you also, when you have those kinds of reflections, it starts making you question your own trustworthiness. You go, can I be trusted? And I know that personally, I've guarded people against me in times past. And you kind of alluded to it in the last episode where you'll put everything up front and there's some kind of self-sabotage involved in that. But I've done that in my life. It's I've done this thing where I try to get people not to trust me because I didn't feel like I was trustworthy. So I'm I'll tell you all the bad stuff about myself so that, you can be guarded against me.
Yeah. And you know where else we do that at? In transitional moments in our lives.
Yeah.
As we're going through transitional moments and we are embracing what we know versus what we believe, sometimes what we'll do is we will find ourselves in spaces where we will encourage people not to trust us because of the inner struggle that's going on within us, where we're like, wait a minute, I'm not sure of this. This shows lack of stability. This shows lack of consistency. This shows lack of integrity. So I'm going to keep you at bay because I don't want you to trust me in this moment because I'm struggling with trusting myself.
Yeah, and see, when the transition itself is a sign that you can be trusted because you were trusted.
Exactly.
You trusted yourself enough to make this change. You trusted yourself enough to make this transition. And because of that, you're in this transition by virtue of trusting what was in you. And so why would I tell somebody not to trust me when, even though I don't have all the answers now, it is me who made this transition?
And connecting that to what we were just talking about, okay? We're in the spaces where they tell us to trust somebody. Internally, there's a struggle there because everything in us is telling us not to trust that person. We trust that person, they violate that trust. Now that leads to us not trusting ourselves instead of realizing I was aware of that. I was aware of that. So both of them are signs that you should trust yourself. But many times when we look at it in the whole scope of life, it ends up being what we use not to trust ourselves. Yeah. Because we'll tell ourselves, well, I shouldn't have trusted the person that told me to trust that person.
Yes. See, so this is such an interesting conversation because it makes me think about all the times that people have come to me and told me stuff, trusted me with information.
Nobody trusts me with anything.
I feel like we have to take shots for lying too. I think I mentioned
We've already established
I
that.
think,
No,
I think we mentioned that previously.
No, we mentioned it, but we established we were not going to do that.
It's about lying and sexual.
I lied too much on this podcast for us to do that.
And sexual innuendos. We did say that.
No, we said sexual innuendos. But here's the thing. We got to come up with something for you because you did the sexual innuendos for me. Because I made up my mind that I'm going to be saved and not cuss. Okay.
Well, I don't even curse, so there's that. So none of these really apply to me. This whole game's really for you.
It's okay. Okay, we'll see. We will see. But go ahead. Yeah, people don't really trust me, but go ahead.
Ooh, just have a shot of water at least or something because that's such a lie. That's such a lie.
Can you continue with your story?
And since people don't trust you, don't ever expect me to talk to you ever again about anything. Anyway.
But here's the thing about that. People just start telling me their business. So.
Correct. Correct. But, I was just saying, though, I just thought about all the times that people came to me. And then I even had, I served in a pastoral role for several years. And so people, do not, Clifton, I swear for Lord.
You pastored?
Yes, sitting apostle.
In a traditional church?
Yes, sitting apostle.
In a traditional.
Yes, sitting apostle.
You had traditional values?
Apostle Pettyjohn.
Wow.
Yes, Apostle Pettyjohn.
Wow, you learn something new about somebody every day. Wow.
But you didn't just learn that.
Pastor.
You're just learning that? You're just learning that right now?
Wow. Man, a man of God. A man of the cloth. My fellow constituent of the gospel. Huh? Clifton. The prognosticator of the gospel.
Clifton.
Huh?
You kind of provoked me to say horrible things.
No, not at all. You preach. You better preach. Preach, black man.
I preach.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get you to do. Preacher.
All right.
Preach the word.
Preacher. Can I finish my point?
Yeah, go ahead. Go finish your point.
I was saying something real good.
Yeah, it was very good. It was.
But no, seriously, I was in a pastoral role where people trusted to come and talk to me and say things. And think about this whole time, I'm not trusting myself though.
Mm.
And so you're giving me this information. I'm holding this information in fear.
Mm.
And let me tell you how deep this lack of self-trust went is that I would hold the information but always be on edge when I was around the people. Because I'm like, ooh, they told me this. And I don't trust that I even know how to deal with them with knowing the information. I didn't trust that I knew how to navigate the relationship. Even though I literally had no judgment with the thing. The element in there that made me act weird around people was because I didn't trust myself. And so people were like, see, you holding that against me. No, I'm not holding that against you. I'm holding it against myself.
Against myself. Oh, man. And the thing is that you don't realize that it's against yourself until you have those like moments of clarity, because you'll end up taking yourself in this space where you'll feel guilty for feeling like how you feel. So then you'll start to overextend yourself or trying to overprove that you're not judging.
Judgment. Yes, sir.
So you be extending super grace, in various situations. But the more that you're extending that super grace in those situations, you aren't extending any grace to yourself.
Yes, sir. And to me, it's so funny because I become overly like communicative. I become overly affectionate. I become overly like affirming in situations like that because it's just like. I did not like the way you did that.
What did I say?
I did not like what you did.
Overly affirming?
Affirming.
Overly affirming.
Wow.
We can have a whole conversation about that.
But anyway.
Go ahead.
Clifton,
for real, go ahead.
I am about to.
No, because you were last episode.
I'm about to have a drink.
You had not one serious bone in your body, but right now you are on supercharged. This is a very important topic to you, and I can tell. I'm gonna help the people.
You hit the mic.
Save the people.
If I mute the mic and cuss, does that count?
Yes, it does. We've already established that.
Yeah, I better be glad. Well, not y'all. You better be glad. But yes,
overly affirming.
but yes, all that overly, your people, and so with that being said, it's like I lost track of what was genuinely me in the process because I didn't trust myself. You see what I'm saying? And so, like, I've had to in the last couple of years, I have had to step away from me being this overly whatever, person so that I could return to what was true for me. Because sometimes you get so caught up in that cycle of mistrust, right? Self-mistrust. And is it mistrust, distrust? I don't know.
You're the worst.
Distrust. Self-distrust. Yes, because mistrust is like falsely placing your trust. Distrust is not trust. Okay, cool. So in the cycle of self-distrust, and in that cycle, you become something that you're not because you're constantly fighting against the authenticity of yourself because you don't trust it.
And then when you show up, I always tell people, you're going to come to a crossroad in life where you and what you have created are going to come face to face.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to feel as if it's going to rock your entire world because every relationship that you have established is going to be affected by it. It's going to be affected by it. And a lot of times we put off those moments. We don't trust ourselves to go through that process with ourselves because we're thinking about how this is going to affect everybody else. And I'm not saying that you don't take that into consideration because that's a very sensitive situation, a very, very sensitive situation, which is why I always encourage people before you enter into any type of relationship, you do those self-evaluations of where you are because when you get to those spaces where it's going to become a major transition in your life because of those self-trust elements, it's going to rock everything.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be sitting there and you're going to realize I'm inside of this relationship. And it's not that you don't care about the other people that are involved. It's not about you not loving them. It's not about any of that. It is about you now trusting yourself to do what's best for you.
And that leads to a whole nother thing of you have to trust that you know what's best for you.
You do.
You got to trust that you know that.
Mm.
You got to trust that knowing.
Yeah.
And to me, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but to me, that's where belief starts to get sticky.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because belief also casts a shadow of doubt.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've thought about and I've heard, I believe maybe I've heard it, or maybe it's just something that I've carried, is that faith necessitates doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And why am I saying that? Because of this, is that sometimes we get so caught in this cycle of believing in what we can't see or what we can't know or what we can't, wrap our minds around, that it takes us out of that knowing and into this cycle of questioning, and then into the cycle of doubt. And so the reason why I even talk about knowing as much as I do is because the knowing puts you in a place where you hold true to, if it shows up, it is what I know.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that you won't know something different or something greater or something more expansive, but it does mean that you do know. And I think people think that knowing means that you have knowledge of everything at once. It's not that. I believe that in us is the knowledge of everything because we are what is everything. We're the makeup of what is everything.
Absolutely.
However, we can't recall everything because of the limitations of our mind.
Absolutely.
And so in the moment that we need information, that knowing recalls it to us. It brings it back to us. And that's the reason why that knowing is so important, is that I don't have to have faith in who I am. No. I don't have to have belief in who I believe in myself. No, I know who I am. By virtue of me knowing who I am, I can trust who I am and what it decides.
And that's the space that we have to get to, especially when it comes to that self-trust, because it's the belief or the belief systems that we have, we either buy into, we adopt, we embrace as our own, that causes that conflict within us. That with that inner knowing is telling you, okay, this is what you need to do right now. But the belief system is telling you, you don't need to trust that.
Yeah.
You need confirmation.
Yeah.
And you need confirmation from a trusted voice. And here's the thing about that. If you don't trust yourself, you will always trust the wrong voices. Hear me out.
No, I'm with you.
Hear me out.
I'm with you.
Now, here's the thing about when I say the wrong voices. That may be a known voice to others, but that does not mean that they are a known voice to you. They are only a known voice to what you are presenting at that moment, but they don't have a knowing of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And here's the interesting thing that when you were talking about that, it just brought to my mind the fact that when you externalize those voices, you're having to trust yourself to trust them.
Yes. Yes.
And so why not trust the voice that comes to you automatically when you're having to trust yourself to trust them?
Yeah. Eliminating the middleman.
Isn't that weird? That we go, oh, I have a problem trusting myself. Yeah, when it comes to us, when it comes to information that comes to us, and I don't need confirmation for the things. I mean, I've had people say to me, I'm telling you, my fault. I've had people say to me in times past, oh, that's not for me. And you know of a particular situation where somebody did that to me, and they had to come back to me and say, and when they and I didn't say this to be whatever, I said to them, by the way, I'm not off put when people tell me that's not for me or you're off. I said, I knew it was true when I said it because it came out of my mouth. Yeah. And that sounds like an arrogant statement, but I wasn't. I say what I know. Yeah. I say with certainty what I know. If I don't know with certainty, it comes out not as a statement, but as a question. And that's that self-trust that I'm talking about, knowing that because I'm navigating in a way where I'm trusting the inner knowing that's tied to my divinity, and I don't even want to get there, but that's tied to my divinity. When I speak, I'm speaking what I know, therefore it rings true. If you identify with that at the point when I said it, apparently this individual did not identify with the information in the way that I gave it. Yes. But circumstance, time, space brings it to a place where then that individual could identify with what I said. But I had to trust myself to say it. I didn't ask him to say to me. I didn't ask him to go. Yes, I agree with what you're saying, and yes, what you're saying is right. I didn't need that confirmation. No. But also, he had to trust his inner knowing so much so that he says, no, that doesn't apply to me. He trusted himself in that, and I trusted myself in that. But we found ourselves in a space where we were in agreement at some point. Yep, absolutely. And disagreement, I'm saying that to say that disagreement or differentiation in opinions, perspectives, etc., does not mean that you're wrong or they're wrong, absolutely, or that they don't know that you don't know. It means that you all are not in the same space of understanding as of yet. There it is. Or maybe never will be.
You may never come to that.
However, you can trust yourself even in the face of disagreement or in the face of like differentiation.
Absolutely. And that gives a whole different perspective because a lot of times people believe that, well, if I tell them I don't agree with them, then that means I'm calling them, from the religious perspective, a false prophet or this, or, you know what I'm saying?
Or just saying that they're wrong.
Or just saying that they're off or they're wrong or they missed. But when you allow your consciousness to be expanded like that, you understand that it's about time, it's about space, it's about all of those things that you need to take into consideration. Now, from that whole conversation that we're having, how does one start to build or develop that self-trust?
For me, it was doing the things that I was uncomfortable with. Yeah. Right? When I made a decision to leave all that I knew, all that was familiar to me for the majority of my life, when I decided to leave that, and I did it without explanation. Yeah. I did it without. That was a level of self-knowing that I leaned into. It took me 2 years to get to the point where I owned it. Because I had the mindset I'm running when the truth was I was choosing.
That'll preach right there.
Well, you would know, Apostle.
That's so good, though. You had the mindset that you were running, but you actually were choosing. And you said something, too, that I think people have to get comfortable with as well. is that you left without explaining.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. Okay.
Ooh, hold on real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say this about this. And see, you also, when you make a decision like that, you have to be aware of and ready to receive the consequences.
The consequences of it, yes. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to.
Okay, go ahead. Or good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, because I did the same thing. Okay. I left, didn't give any explanation, but I knew I had to do it for me. You know what I'm saying? I knew that I had to do it for me. Now, here's the reality of it. I did carry the guilt of, you didn't explain to them. It was like you just dropped them. You just did all of that. But it was a understanding. And I didn't have the language for it at the time, to be honest with you. Did not have the language for it. But it was just an understanding of, if I don't go now,
Yep.
I'm going to die.
Dude, that is exactly the space I was in.
Yes.
And let me say this too, is that the reason why you can't explain, as much as you feel like, you may have felt like, man, I wish I would have done that differently. I wish I could have done it differently. The thing is that the explanation would have just circled back into that distrust.
Absolutely.
All you would have done is communicate to them, I don't trust myself, so I need your approval.
Yep. And I would have found myself, as Juanita Barham said, right back in the sheets again. No, I would have found myself, back in that same situation.
I know it'd be a more fun game on this podcast.
What's that?
Is you have to take a shot every time you make a church reference.
Oh, we can do that. We
No,
can do that.
That would be good.
That would be good. Yeah, we can do that too.
Because neither one of us can help it.
That's so on brand. I love that.
Neither one of us can help it.
That's so good. Yeah, we'll add that to the mix too.
Hey, I'm Michael Andrew Weston, founder and lead identity strategist here at Supernormal. Before we have the conversation about what we do, I thought it was important that I share with you about my knack for knowing, because it is what makes the work that we do supernormal. Some people say that I have a third eye, that I'm prophetic, clairvoyant, intuitive. Regardless of how you language it, it is this knowing that enables me to help clients get to the core of their identity. I tend to know when joy, judgment, fear, faith, resistance, surrender, whatever else are at play. I use this to challenge clients to dig deeper, to get to the truth. I believe that if we can get to the truth, we can tap into pure identity. This way, we are able to present you, the creator, the business owner, in truest form. Now, you still may be wondering though, but why identity? Well, your identity is the supernormal quality that makes you unlike anyone else and enables you to do what no one else can do. It is the single raw material that you use to build everything in your world. However, if you're not aware of these truths, you risk misappropriating this most valuable material. For the creator or business owner like yourself, this misappropriation manifests itself as constantly overcommitting, not attracting the ideal clients or opportunities that you desire, or any for that matter. Putting yourself in a position where your work is constantly getting ahead of you, and ultimately reaching a place where your work is burning you out. I get it. You have so many things to consider. How do I manage the many moving parts? How do I attract these opportunities or clients? How do I get the promotion? And the list goes on and on. However, I believe that if you lead with identity, everything else will follow. It is this truth, it is this philosophy that inspires the work that I do. It is the work of Supernormal. Number one, to aid you in getting to the core of your identity and helping you leverage it to position you to attract the ideal clients and or opportunities that you desire. Secondly, we aid in bridging the gap between who you are and what you do so that you can connect to your work and or clients in a more meaningful way. Finally, it is our work to help you make space for yourself in your business or brand by equipping you with tools to build for yourself first and to give to others out of your abundant overflow.
Even with the consequences, as you were saying, in embracing the consequences, don't judge yourself around those consequences.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I did was I excused away a lot of the things that people did, because I said, when people would call me and they'd be like, because you're going to get the phone calls. Trust me, you're going to get the phone calls. They're going to say, did you see what so-and-so said about you? Did you see this? And I'd be like, nope. I mean, it's okay. That's what I expected from them. but that doesn't mean that I don't hold them accountable in
Correct.
the spirit that they did it.
Correct.
And I think that what I did was I was in my journey of trusting myself, I still carried on my back trying to protect them for what they were saying.
Man, don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
Don't
Trying
even-
to protect them
See,
while sacrificing me.
I'm gonna tell you something. I've had conversations recently because I think I told you this, that I've kind of been in this place where I've been apologizing to people for some things that
no,
occurred.
hold on. You didn't apologize to me. I mean, I think this is a perfect show that people, they might not know what an apology looks like. Show
right.
Show them here live.
I'm sorry that you're such an asshole.
Yes. One, rack it up. Here we go.
Ass is in the
Let's
Bible.
go. No.
That word's in the Bible.
No.
That's in the Bible.
No. Come on. We'll take your biblical shot. No, that is not how Jesus them turned up at the party.
It was wine, so it's a ratio.
Nope. Give that a good old Michael Weston shot.
I don't know what that means. I don't drink, so
A
I don't.
Michael Andrew Weston
good.
shot. You don't drink. Look at your bottle, sir.
That's your bottle, sir.
Did you buy a half used bottle?
That-
Did you purchase a half used bottle,
So
sir?
I drank that
You did.
By
You were
myself.
involved in it.
by myself.
I had to take some drinks for the show. Oh, I did. I took some drinks. Oh, yeah, I took drinks outside the show as well in support. You.
It was Thursday Night Football.
There we go. Go ahead. What were you talking about?
Anyway, I told you I had to apologize to some people, but the apologies did not absolve them for the role. And I think that certain people processed me apologizing as I took full responsibility for the whole situation.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I left is because you were a bleep bleep, right? And yes, in the process, I too was a bleep bleep.
Absolutely.
But that was so good. Look at that.
Yeah, you definitely a bleep bleep. I agree.
As are you.
I own that.
Right.
I own that.
Bleep bleep anonymous. but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the process, like, and that's the thing is that, and I'm very careful because I was in a conversation a few weeks ago with somebody who I can tell they still blame me. I apologize to them and I meant the apology, but I'm conscientious of how I deal with them because you're trying to cast a shadow of doubt over me that I don't carry. The reason why I could apologize is because I trusted myself enough to know what my role was. And I accepted responsibility for my role, but also I'm not going to carry the guilt of what you think my role was. And that's what that self-knowing does and that self-trust does. It takes you to a place where you understand your role in the thing and you also understand what was not your role. Because if you're taking accountability for things that are not yours, you still have not come to a place of self-trust yet.
Yes.
Because you have to trust yourself enough to say, that was not mine.
That was not mine. And you're hitting it, the nail right on the head, because a lot of times we stay in that space of trying to own it all.
Yeah.
Like we want to own it all because I want to protect them. You know, I don't want other people to see them in that light. While sometimes they're giving off the energy or the vibe like we just leave them out there to be attacked or leave them out there like on their own.
You have no clue.
When the reality is, I'm really trying to protect you here, and I'm continuing to sacrifice myself, but that space is leaving. That time is ending because I understand now I have to protect me. I talk about this all the time.
I just had a flash. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had a flash of us on this podcast, and I saw all these camera angles, all these people in the background.
Come on, prophet. Prophesy, man of God. Major.
We're really drinking now.
Major.
With these church references.
The church, for real though.
But no, I just had a flash. I'm sorry, just like while we're sitting there, I had this flash of us sitting in the studio us in these chairs, we're talking. There's all these people in the background where, like, I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I honor this where we are right now, but it's just... Anyway,
yeah, I feel you.
Anyway.
Sorry. I feel you, though. No, that's good. But I was saying, that space is coming to an end because I always talk about, when people talk about, but I want to protect them, I don't want people to see them in that light. I always ask, well, who's protecting you?
Who's protecting you?
Who's looking out for you? Who's honoring who you are? Who's respecting you?
Yeah.
Who's there with you?
Well, and that goes to the conversation about protecting people who abuse you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it is a dynamic they talk about in psychology circles. This protecting people who have done things to you. See, because we're hyper aware, people like myself, like yourself, who are self-aware, we're hyper aware of the things that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Which often causes us to overlook the things that people have done to us. Mm-hmm. Right? And we take this radical responsibility, and I believe in it so much. I believe in radical responsibility. But it becomes beyond radical responsibility, and it becomes just like obscene responsibility when you're not holding people accountable to the ways they've impacted you, the ways they've negatively impacted you, the ways their decisions have, you know what I'm saying? Just even people who experience things in childhood, and people, parents who didn't take care of them properly, people who mentally, physically, sexually abused them, or just the ways things they were told as they were, when they were younger. Those things affected who you became as an adult.
Absolutely.
And so holding people accountable and trusting, again, yourself enough to know that, yes, I take responsibility for who I am now, while simultaneously holding them accountable for their impact on who I became.
Yeah. And sometimes that's going to cause you to have to go back and have those conversations with your younger self. Because there's a lot of things that we blocked out. Like, there are things that are right here in our face, right? Yeah. There are things that are right here in our face, and we're very much aware of them, but we're not aware of the origin of them. And we're trying to get rid of something that we have grown up with. It became our security blanket. Like what Linus had his little security blanket. It's kind of our security blanket. Even though we don't like how it feels, at times it still shows that there is a feeling there. Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm in this situationship, but at least it's better than being alone type situation. Man. So you have to go on that journey back to your childhood in spaces you don't want to go, spaces you blocked out. And it's going to bring up some raw emotions even in that, but to help you understand the origin of where that came from, because that's where you left your trust.
Ooh, that's where you left
your trust.
That's and man, I remember. Let me say this: I remember being able to identify with people in a way where I go, because I'm an empath, and I think we all know that.
I wasn't aware. I'm learning so much. So you pastored, you're empath. Okay. This silence is longer than when you feel like you're on stage and you're silent and you feel like it's like an extensive amount of time. Then you go back and listen to the replay and it's like that little bit of time. This silence is a lot longer than that.
I don't even know what I'm saying.
You're an empath. You were telling us things about yourself that we were not aware of.
Well, something else you should know: I'm violent. You probably didn't know that about me. And I will steal on you right now. I will steal on you right now on this episode.
Do y'all hear this?
I will steal on you.
Listen, we are not that type of podcast.
Don't you like WWE?
Wait a minute.
Don't you like WWE?
We might go viral, yo.
If it serves a purpose. But no, seriously, I'm an empath. And so I have the ability to identify with where people are, and even people who have done some very things that are heinous, right? Mm-hmm. I can identify with their humanity. Oh yeah, I can identify with that so much. But I learned something about myself that I had learned so much to identify with people's humanity that I did not necessarily hold people responsible. And it has been a thing for me over the last several years, learning to give people the responsibility of a thing while still being able to empathetically identify with their humanity. Like somebody murdered somebody. He was hurt as a child. And as an adult, he experienced this, that, and the other. He experienced homelessness, or she experienced homelessness, that, whatever. And I can identify with that. I can empathize with that. However, for the thing that you did, you must be held accountable. I'm saying that like that's like, duh, we're gonna hold somebody accountable for murder. But what about somebody who said something to you that impacted you for many years? You. And you forgive it because what they were going through. No. And because again, and the more that you allow that person to do that, to be that, they're going to continue to hurt you probably. They're going to continue to say things, do things, and you give them access to yourself. And then it tells yourself, what does it say to me about my choice of people? And what is it saying to me about who I am? And so now I don't trust myself because I don't choose good people. When the truth of the matter is that who you are is communicating to you, but you're overriding it with this need to be human.
And you hit something about the not holding accountable. And whenever you have that accountability energy, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So where does it go? To you. So you start holding yourself accountable with these unrealistic expectations. And you're carrying all of that on you. And you're trying to figure out, well, why can't I seem to shake this? Why can't I seem to get past this?
Yeah.
I ought to be better than this. I can't even remember what our conversation was, but I was telling you, I was like, yo, I got to say something to you, but I feel guilty for feeling this way about this person. But the reason why I was feeling guilty for feeling that way was because I had unrealistic expectations about myself. Like I understood their humanity, but I was canceling out my humanity. And that's one of the things that we have to, if you're going to trust yourself, you're going to have this experience with yourself, then you're going to have to honor your humanity by releasing everybody else's and allowing them to be held accountable.
Allowing them to be. And see, I don't think we understand that when we hold people accountable, we're presenting them with an opportunity. For them to lean into their own self-trust. It's interesting how all these things are interconnected. You know, it's interesting. Man.
It really is interesting, though. It really is interesting. I'm thinking about like my whole self journey, my self-trust journey.
We had a moment that was so good.
Yeah, like we were just stuck in there for a minute, like, yeah. But I'm thinking about it, and I thinking about how it has like really impacted my life and taken me to places that I never really had thought that I would be.
Yeah.
You know, and also it's had me in relationships I thought I never would be in. Because when you start to trust yourself, you start to understand what relationships really are. You don't develop relationships out of guilt. You don't develop relationships out of pity.
Out of obligation.
You don't develop relationships out of obligation.
Yeah.
You don't develop relationships because they might know something about you. And they're holding what they know about you. You don't develop those type of, you don't trauma bond. You know, you begin to mature past those spaces of trauma bonding because you begin to understand I need a deeper connection than our trauma. Because our trauma might keep us connected, but our trauma also keeps us locked into where we are.
Yeah. And I've been like doing this thing in my mind for a few months now where I've been talking about connection versus attachment.
Oh, yeah.
Connection versus attachment. Because there are people who I've been attached to that I have no connection with.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no synergy there. There's no exchange there. I'm just attached to them. And I think that's what you're alluding to.
Absolutely.
Is people who you're attached to by all these things where there's really no connection. There's no connectivity. And I think that, again, trusting yourself to make a decision to say, hey, this no longer serves me.
Yeah.
Because often too, our self-trust, when our self-trust makes us make decisions like, hey, I'm gonna have to isolate myself from this. I'm gonna have to isolate myself from these people. We don't lean into the full trust of that moment, because then what are the implications for me? I'm gonna be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts this conversation about, well, see, whenever I show up, whenever I am present, whenever I trust myself, it always ends up with me being by myself.
Mm.
And so there's so many things attached to it, and so many things connected to that conversation. But it's like, no, I also have to trust myself, that even when my self-trust puts me by myself, trusting myself will also connect me to the right people.
To the right people. You hit it right there. That whole self-trust thing and that being by myself. Many times we don't want to be by ourselves because we don't want to have those conversations. We don't want to have those, those quiet conversations, and stuff starts to come up that you didn't want to come up, and you try to outthink it, and you might even begin to verbally say stuff. But when you're having those quiet moments, that's where trust is trying to be developed within yourself. Because it comes in times when that's not the conversation you want to have. It's not what you necessarily want to hear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You definitely don't want to hear what's being said. And it's just not right now. I'll deal with that later. But that is the perfect time for you to begin to have that conversation with yourself, because it's what you develop in that moment that also is going to determine the relationship that you produce from that.
Yes, sir. And it is proven that a dysfunctional relationship with yourself will cause dysfunctional relationships with people outside of yourself. Amen. And you will get into untrusted or untrustworthy circumstances as long as you continue to distrust yourself.
Absolutely.
And I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations and been in friendships and relationships, etc., with people who have proven to me that they're not to be trusted. But I stay in them because I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
And I don't trust, and in trusting myself, I don't trust that things will be different, could be different.
Yeah. You almost treat yourself as if this is what I deserve. It becomes
maybe this is as good as it gets.
Yeah, this is as good as it gets. This is what I deserve. And then you start to think about things that you may have done.
The childish urge to twirl in this chair like this a lot.
Yeah, you should do it.
No, continue.
Just go ahead and do it.
No,
you start to look and reevaluate some of the choices you made in life, and then you start to connect those choices with that relationship. Maybe I'm in this relationship because when I was 16, when I was 12, and somebody said, that's extreme. But we do it. We just don't realize we do it. We don't label it as that. But we start to bring up stuff, whether we do it consciously or subconsciously. We start to bring up stuff that we've done throughout our life. And now all of a sudden, well, I made a mistake of trusting myself before. No, you didn't. You never gave yourself that opportunity.
I'm going to have to take a drink. But sometimes we need to tell ourselves, stop bringing up bullshit.
Exactly.
Because, for real, we are so good at it, with other people, we will be conscientious of, I'm not going to bring that up because that's in the past.
But here's the thing, too. We bring up old shit. You can go ahead and give me one. We bring it up.
Hold on. Then, since we're having one at the same time, this was going to be good.
Yeah. We'll bring that up, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't bring it up in the right context. We never bring it up in the right context.
To life.
We bring it up in this false reality that we created. Because if we go back and we were to actually replay the situation, it didn't happen the way that we may perceive that it happened. Yep. So we're not just bringing it up. Each time we bring it up, we're adding to it and subtracting from it. And when we do that, that causes us not to trust ourselves either.
Viewing life from an old understanding.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I can evolve to a new space of understanding, but still be viewing a situation from the old perspective because I'm still in it and I'm still carrying the guilt of it and I still don't trust myself in it.
Yep.
Even when you don't have all the information at hand, don't have all the tools at hand to navigate a situation in the way that you could have, that does not mean that you're not to be trusted. You trust what you know.
Yes.
And in trusting what you know, more will come to you. You block the flow of information and intel when you are not willing to just trust what you already know.
Yep.
And I remember having a conversation with a close family member, and we were talking about situations in the past, and they were saying, I wish that I would have dealt with this differently. I wish I would have done this differently. And I said to them, you were exactly who you needed to be and exactly who you could be, because had you had the opportunity and the ability or the tools to do differently, you would have. But just honor who you were then and honor that you did what you knew to do.
I think that all ties into being present too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like many times I usually do breathing exercises with different things. And I say, take deep breath in, breathe out, in through your nose, out through your mouth, a couple of times. Then I say, okay, what we're doing is we're pulling the energy that we've devoted to the woulda, shoulda, coulda. I should have changed this. I should have did this. If I only made that decision, if I had said this to them, if I had one more experience with them, pulling that to the present, pulling the possibilities of the future, the energy we devote to that here to the present, because sometimes we are so stuck in those moments and trying to recreate them in our minds that we're not even present enough to be aware of what it is that we know right now.
Yes, sir.
So I think that is very important, that we take that time to allow ourselves to be present. Honor the past. Honor the decisions you made in the past. Honor everything about your past. Because I say this as well. You alter one decision in your life and you change one decision in your life, it completely alters the trajectory of your life. You wouldn't be sitting here listening to us if you change one circumstance in your life. Or if you were listening to us, you may be listening to us from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So I really believe that one of the main things that we're saying here is make sure that you are present enough with yourself to trust yourself in that presence. Trust your presence.
Yep. And trust that what you don't know will come to you.
Absolutely.
Trust that what you don't know will come to you. I think that's a good affirmation. What I don't know will come to me.
What I don't know will come to me.
Because what I don't know is in my realm of consciousness. It just needs to be pulled to me.
Yep.
I really want to start getting to deeper thoughts, but it's just I don't think this is the place for it.
Yeah, I got you.
But seriously, I can pull from my energetic field. I can pull into me the information that I need to navigate the circumstance.
Absolutely. And that goes to what I talk about all the time. We are multi-dimensional beings. That's who we are. Inside of each and every one of us are dimensions or chambers that need to be in the right environment, and we need to be open to those chambers being open. And as those chambers are open, what it is that we need to know appears. I mean, it really is just that simple. Like
I always say, who and what.
Yes.
I always say who and what always shows up.
Yes, absolutely. It's really that simple. And I think that we have made it more complex than what it is, but it's just about having that personal relationship with yourself, that internal knowing where you say, okay, Cliff, what is it that you desire? What is it that you want to do? What is it, the decision I need to make? What should I do? Instead of saying, hey, Michael, listen, they asked me to do such and such and such and such. What should I do?
Or instead of judging what shows up for you.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Well, because you and I had that conversation this morning, right, about me.
Yeah.
There was a judgment present about what was trying to come to me.
Yeah.
And when I removed the judgment, and I had that conversation with myself this morning, in a moment,
just like that,
it became clear to me, oh, this is what you want. This is what you need. And in trusting that, now I know how to move forward better than I did yesterday.
Which is why we push self-conversation and journaling. Because that's where you begin to remove those judgments, because you just allow yourself to freely talk. You allow yourself to freely flow. And then you look back at it and you're like, oh, wow, now I get it. That's the clarity that I was seeking.
Yeah. Wow. I think we've done it.
That's it, man.
I think we've done it.
I think so.
Wow. Well, thank you all so much. I'll do my outro. I won't do the by all means create a great day.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry. But
Wow.
sorry.
Wow.
But what I will say is thank you so much for your attention, and intention. Is what I say. Thank you so much for your attention and intention. We will see you next time on MDI 2.0.
Well, folks, there you have it. That concludes today's episode of the MDI 2.0 podcast. I know I speak for Michael when I say thank you for listening. If you haven't already subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe through your preferred listening platform. If you are a visual person like myself, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure you're interacting with us. Leave us a review. Leave a comment. If you want to reach out and give show ideas, you can always reach out to us at info@transformuinstitute.com. Until next time, peace.